I don't know if you guys have heard of that really obscure new anime game called, oh man, what was it called? Genshin Compact, I think. You know the one I'm talking about, from that really tiny little indie studio, Moyoyobo? I heard they took inspiration from another really large, popular, successful RPG, and I think I found which game that is, The Legend of Neverland. I know it is technically just released globally in September 2022, but this is likely a case of scouting out the competition before it releases, right? There are so many aspects of this game that resemble one another that it's just uncanny. Well, with the exception of the glaring difference, Genshin has much hotter waifus. Like, Amber is pretty basic, but evidently you can get significantly worse than her. Oh, and one is a single-player RPG, while the other is an MMORPG that you do technically play completely solo, given it's also an MMO that is built for the mobile platform and is almost entirely autoplay. Hey, my name is Stix and welcome to another episode of Worst Gacha Ever. The purpose of the Worst Gacha Ever series is not to solely criticize a game, nor is it to praise it unconditionally. Rather, this video series exists as a means with which to both critique and to complement various facets of a gacha game that I experienced over a set period of time. Sometimes days, sometimes months. If you enjoyed this series, make sure to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification because YouTube told me if you don't, well, you might end up spending the bulk of your time in tiny little indie games like Genshin Compact. Oh, and make sure to check out the last episode in this series at the end of the video. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment here to thank all of the absolute chads and chadettes that support this channel via Patreon. You're all freaking legends. Seriously, each and every single one of you. I would offer to give each of you a kiss, but I suffer from severe intimacy issues. Additionally, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest MMO, gacha, and gaming news, take a second here to follow Mrs. Stix and I over on Twitter. We tweet daily. So, immediately upon beginning The Legend of Neverland, you'll notice that it is very different from Genshin Compact. Genshin has you play as one of two predetermined characters, Paper and Lumberjack. Neverland, however, has players choose from one of four different classes: the jock, the pothead, the nerd, and your typical D&D roleplayer, after which you're presented with a character creator. It honestly has some decent options in terms of providing you a unique character. Since this is a fantasy game and I'm half Asian with brown hair and brown eyes, I went something that felt like a fantasy to me: blonde hair and blue eyes. I also dyed my outfit because, I mean, you know, that's a thing in this game. Upon creating your character, you're thrown directly into a cutscene. I figured, you know what, I would skip this particular piece of dialogue. None of the other dialogue. I honestly, I paid complete and utter attention to all of the dialogue and all of the cutscenes in this game. But this specific one I wanted to skip because I just felt this need to move around a little bit and explore a little. But what I didn't realize was that it would skip the entire introductory prologue of the game. A little warning would have been great. Apparently though, thankfully, I guess, all of this was a dream, as we wake up to this incredibly hot, very shapely woman leaning over us, telling us something. I don't know, I really can't pay attention when there's someone dangling themselves over me like that. Wait, never mind, it turns out she's my little fairy companion. Well, you know what they say, right? If I'm ever in an emergency and am starving to death, at least I have a little fairy friend to consume as emergency food, right? Jesus, I've admittedly been playing for like 30 seconds and already I cannot believe that this is the running animation. Do people actually run like that? Is that... Okay, no, so hear me out here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making fun of people that do in fact run like that, but what the actual fuck, man? That is the dumbest running animation that I've ever seen. Okay, now on with the actual... Wait, is that the giant statue in the center of Mondstadt? Dude, really? Gene, come on, aren't you a knight of Favonius? So, another thing worth noting is that upon first logging into this game, it tells you to begin auto-pathing and auto-completing everything. It doesn't tell you that you're required to seek out an NPC. It doesn't tell you to go and engage enemies. Instead, it tells you, click this button to let the game play for you, so you can do things that you actually want to do. Genshin Compact doesn't have the option for autoplay, neither do other good games like Punishing Gray Raven. These games tell you, you know what, if you don't have time to play, get the fuck out and go play a goddamn idle game. Because that's what they're built for, right? Now, auto in gacha games is useful to a degree. They're important when your goal is to grind the same content repetitiously over a long period of time. They're handy when being forced to regrind old content that you've already cleared. When it is not okay is when consuming content for the very first time. And when your game looks as good as this does, you really should be prioritizing exploration and manual play. The Legend of Neverland is an MMORPG, meaning that there are hundreds of other players all coexisting together with one another. Granted, none of them are there because they're all auto-following the exact same route, giving off a false illusion of being a massively multiplayer title. You'll spend a large amount of your time exploring the pretty enormous world. The world itself is filled with life. There are NPCs everywhere, monsters around every corner. It's beautifully crafted, there's no arguing that. Whoever the team was that is responsible for the artwork in this game, you guys truly deserve a raise, because the world you crafted is absolutely stunning. You can traverse the world on foot, you can... Well, alright, that is definitely a unique motion to take. Do I need to censor that? You can also ride atop your trusty chocobo. After unlocking my chocobo, I was kidnapped by Jack of Blades, who was doing very naughty things to Jean. Like, I've watched enough hentai to know exactly where this is going. Wait, he turned into a giant dog. Oh, okay, all right. Admittedly, I did not know that this is where this was going to go. I thought he was gonna take Jean and run away. Oh well, he dead now. After playing for like an hour, I think, I figured it was time to check out the gacha system. I had no idea what I'd roll for in this, but apparently it's to replace my little floating friend, thank God. The blonde girl there, she looks very, very familiar. Was she in Blue Archive or maybe Arknights? She just has this really strong resemblance to someone from another really large franchise, and I just can't quite shake who or what that is. Oh well. Before rolling, I took a look at the shop. I'm a little bit of a dolphin here. I tend to always purchase the VIP packs for increased XP, stamina, premium currency, and whatever other sick goodies they tend to be accompanied by. It makes recording easier, okay? I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because I have to. I feel a moral obligation to. So I purchased both the Star Guard and the Moon Blessing because those are really large numbers, and when I see large numbers like that, I feel this innate need to spend money on it because those look like incredible deals that I just do not want to miss out on. Then I proceeded to pull for waifus and admittedly did pretty good. I got the banner waifu, which is rare for me. I never get anything when rolling for characters, so this was a pleasant surprise. The game is pretty basic at its core, but that is in no way a detriment to the kind of game that this is. You follow a narrative which pushes you from quest hub to quest hub. You take quests that have you loot X number of items, kill Y number of monsters. You enter instances and engage waves of enemies. Heck, you can PvP. Unfortunately, the game also allows for auto combat and PvP, so you'll probably never have to put your skills to a real test, but it's nevertheless a nice little touch for those of us that want to pretend that we can PvP as opposed to those of us that really can. You collect waifus, you level them up, you upgrade them, you increase their potential, which in turn increases your overall power. And they come with their own unique bonuses, which is a fun little addition. There's your typical upgrading system, your equipment system, your skills system. Admittedly, you have access to more than a single class at any given time, which is something that I wasn't really aware of until many hours into the game. You can spec into those classes as well, which adds additional layers to your class, allowing for more depth and more complexity when it comes to building your character. Unless you can realistically max everything out, in which case I guess we'll all still be following the same cookie cutter builds. Now, I know there's a guild system present in-game, but I never use guild systems in mobile games. They're just, they feel pointless to me. There's a player housing system that, I don't know, that's always Mrs. Stix's thing. I just throw things down and pretend like I know what I'm doing. Ultimately, The Legend of Neverland is not a horrible game. It's a horrible clone of a much better game. There's no contesting that point. But if there was no Genshin Compact, this would be an exceptional quality gacha MMO. If they remove the entire autoplay mechanic anyway. Tower Fantasy does well without autoplay, and this could as well. Especially given how gorgeous this game world is, how fun the action combat can really be, and how immersive the game feels overall. Now, if you're looking for the previous episode in the Worst Gacha Ever series, you can find that via this video right here, or if you're looking for a list of the most populated gacha games right now, then this video right here is what you're after.